All right, guys, welcome. We're doing another general show, another Saturday morning, just sort of chopping it up with the boys. I'm sure we'll have maybe one or two more pop in, hopefully, as the show progresses. There's a new face here for you guys today. We got Raphael from Wealthy Expat. He's been a bit of an insider for a bit, and I thought I'd put him out there for you guys. He's got a really cool YouTube channel. Congrats on 90,000. I saw that recently. You're almost up at 100,000.
Thank you.
You basically put out really informative videos for guys that want to minimize their tax burdens and maximize freedoms. And you've got some strategies around that with multiple passports and residencies and different ways to do that. But I'll let you chime in whenever you feel it's necessary when we do these. And, you guys should really just check out his channel. We've, of course, got 50 Shades of Green and our Big Black from Canada joining us. And who else we got here in the back room? We got Dragos who just joined. What's up, buddy?
Hello.
What's up, Dragos?
How are you guys?
Good. So what's cracking, man? How you guys doing today?
It's midday for me here in Romania. It's not morning.
Same, yeah. 5 p.m. The day has been good.
You're in Russia still, right?
Me, yes, yeah, in Moscow. I'm gonna stay here for the time being, at least throughout Pride Month. I'll be here. Just to...
I call it spinach month because I'm not into spinach. I don't like spinach. It doesn't make me insecure that I don't like spinach. But you know what? I don't have to like spinach.
Yeah.
All through spinach month, I'll be here.
All through spinach month. Yeah, I don't like it's a touchy subject to sort of touch on, and I think we should probably
avoid
some opinions or commentary on it, or maybe just showing some opinions and commentary and sort of giving a thumbs up or thumbs down. I mean, like, how do you tackle this with YouTube? Because
sarcasm.
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to check out. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. There's rainbow people that are kind of getting embarrassed by the patronizing level of it at this stage. You know.
Yeah. It's funny. I overheard my girl talking to a friend this morning, and they have a mutual gay friend, and I'm hearing this from a few different sources that they, like, even a lot of these, conventional, guys that are just like, there's gays and lesbians, and that's really it. I'm not sure why they're trying to paint us all with the same brush, or include us in some of the stuff that would be considered. Well, let's talk about what looks like, I guess, madness, because there's some clips here I have on Twitter with how parents are starting to push back. This is a clip here that PBD put out. I know he's half Armenian. Actually, my maternal grandmother is Armenian, so it's kind of nice to see these parents.
I am so proud.
I can just mute this. I mean, these are just parents pushing back in the California school board, basically saying, leave our kids alone. And for this to be happening in California is pretty interesting. It doesn't really fly very many places, but apparently there was some kerfuffles in the street, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. One thing that immigrants, especially Armenians, are known for is, one, being extremely hairy, and two, being very protective of their kids too. Like, you don't mess with Armenians' kids; they will come after you with just the ferocity that you've never seen before.
Yeah, and there's also the not Toronto, but Ottawa. So if you guys aren't familiar, there's also a pushback going on in Ottawa right now. Let me just back this up here. It'll be interesting to see how Trudeau handles this, because last time people started pushing back in Ottawa was the truckers, and he canceled their insurance and their bank accounts. This dude over here has taken the decor off the fences and stuff. But school boards are starting to, apparently it says here in the caption, school board told all teachers to call kids by they, them pronouns permanently. Every student is now non-binary, and protesters are getting furious. Situation is escalating.
I guess there was a row, speaking of Trudeau, in, I think, New Brunswick, where the premier had just said like, teenagers don't have to participate in it. It's not mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
And he called it a hate thing and all this, that, and the other. I mean, he's just a politician. He'll just say whatever he needs to say in order that he thinks that it'll get him some form of popularity.
Yeah, I mean, the push on the small children, it seems unusual, but it seems like an almost normal progression of the insanity too. You know, I've been criticizing for telling people to enjoy the decline, but if you look at the direction that culture and society goes, I don't see it pulling back. I mean, Raphael does a lot of traveling. I mean, for what you do with business, what's your experience been around the world?
It really depends on the religion of the country, to be honest, and also it depends on from where the country's coming from. If the country had a very disturbing past and people still remember that past. So, for example, here, I don't want to talk too much about the country I'm in because it's also getting censored on YouTube. But in this country, every single May and June, they celebrate the huge wars that happened. So World War I and World War II are celebrated. And they gather all of the veterans in the main plaza of the city, and they give them all. It's a very small sum. It's about $500, but everybody gets $500 as a way to commemorate the soldiers. So they keep that memory alive of what can happen if you try to push this too much. If you try to control people, this is what happens. And it's like all the pictures of the dead soldiers and so on. So it's still very vivid, and they've gone through so much distress in the past that they don't want to go through it again. In the West, you've never really had, like in Canada, we were talking in person, Canada has never really had any hardships. I mean, Canada has always been a pretty good country, and good times create stupid people and bad people. Hard times create great men and great people. And that's what I think I've seen. So, for example, even a country that is a little bit going in this direction, which is Malaysia. Malaysia's still Muslim, and they were basically an asshole of a country about 20, 30 years ago. So they still remember those days, and they keep that tradition alive. Whereas other countries have just gone and they don't have any hardships. They don't have any memory of bad times. So, let's just go with whatever the Western media is saying. That's what I think is a good. And if they're really tight on religion, obviously Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, this is pretty much never going to happen. It's going to take a long time for this to even show up.
Big Black, you live in a conservative part of Canada. Do you see a lot of flags and rainbows and stuff like that there?
No, not really. No, there's flags here and there on government buildings and things of that ilk. There are art shows, but it's not a huge thing where I am here. It's a thing, don't get me wrong, and it's been more of a thing in the past maybe 5 years, but it's not in the levels that you have it out in central Canada, where it's mandatory and it's required by not just necessarily by schools, but by every level of of government. Which, in my opinion, let people do what they want to do, but I think that most people just want to be left alone. Even the pride people, a lot of them aren't so gung-ho about being in parades, about doing this. Most people just want to be left alone. They want to live their lives. And so this shoving things down people's throat is making people a little bit uncomfortable. And you can tell there is kind of a cultural backlash as the Bud Light thing continues to manifest, and that people aren't letting up with the whole Bud Light thing. People are really driving their stock and their brand into the ground because they did what they did, and they didn't have the sense to apologize and say we made a mistake, and so on and so forth. Yeah,
the alignment's really bizarre. What else has been going on this week with media and news? There's here, let me just sort of share this other thing too, because I came across this the other day as well. I'm seeing more and more stories like this pop up, by the way, where you get females that are in college, university, chasing degrees, going to do something with their life. Like Amy here was studying medicine. Now she makes $12,000 a day. That's not a month or anything like that. A day on OnlyFans. So what incentives do even reasonably attractive women have to get a career in medicine now, or law, or something like that, when they can make more money showing their butthole to nerds online? It's just absurd at this point.
By the
The
way,
incentive of
article paid for by OnlyFans Inc. You know,
What's that?
article paid for by OnlyFans Inc. at the very bottom in small print.
the incentive is not being a hoe.
Yeah, here it
does-
just. Yeah, I mean, like, is there any incentive to not be how? It's like they're normalizing this stuff publicly just to say, yeah, it's absolutely fine. Why save lives when you can have simps give you money? I don't know what the OnlyFans cut is. Does anybody know what the cut is?
20%.
Is it
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 20%. I think is about
20%? Wow.
And you
Wow,
get
that's
like
pretty high.
if you're introduce somebody, you get a 5% out of that.
And you see that article, that article would have popped up in every single young college-age girl's Instagram feed, news feed, Facebook feed, Twitter feed, because that would have been pushed by OnlyFans. They play the numbers game. They figure 300,000 young girls see that in a day. 5%, 10% of them get on OnlyFans. 2% of them start making decent money, and then they get their return on the advertising.
So I found the source of this article from a different publication. It looks like they must have put it out on a newswire. So it's on dailymail.com, which is a UK site. It's kind of a shitty site, but does it say sponsored at the bottom? You said it said sponsored by OnlyFans?
Well, that was kind of a joke, but it's not too far from accurate. I think, like, from what I remember, and don't quote me on this, but the average OnlyFans content creator makes £100. So, like, what does that be? $120 per month on the platform. So, like, what is that? $3 a day, $3 or $4 a day, which is it's not $18,000. That's for sure.
It's getting tough. The
just
market's getting crowded.
I mean, if you use an analogy, that'd be like some dude walking up to a girl in Starbucks and saying, "I'll buy you a latte if I can see your butt."
Well, I've said worse things.
Yes. For a latte, I mean,
You'd be
So
surprised.
I wasn't going mode one.
Yeah, so I found the
Oh,
article here.
God.
Apparently, it expands, and it says earlier it starts getting into birth control and morning after pills. So this is our would-be doctor here, Amy. It says earlier this month, Amy took 2 morning after pills after having unprotected sex twice in the same day. I wonder if it was the same guy or with different guys, because she wasn't sure if she was covered. Like, you've got condoms, you've got birth control pills, you got IUDs. Now they're using morning after pills as safe and effective birth control. She's not super hot. I mean, she's obviously attractive. She's a little on the thick side, but
No,
whatever.
for Canada and US, she's
Actually,
got a good level.
from Adelaide, she's probably right up there for an Australian.
Yeah, in Australia, I mean, when you actually spend some time there, I was 2 months there. She's like a 9.5 over there.
Yeah, crazy. What else is crack-a-lacking this week? Jerry said over here there was that I came across too. The United Nations in New York took down 193 flags and replaced them with 193 pride flags. I think the men in black coats are playing a joke on us.
Yeah. It's, again, call to like a ET phone home. Call from Earth, from Romania. In here, we've got the professors, the teachers doing a strike because they want their salaries raised from the medium, which is about like the entry-level professor teacher in Romania gets €500 a month in hand, and they want that raised. So, like, I don't think they have time to protest for pride because they want to make money to live.
They want to make money, yeah. Here's I've got a couple other clips here from posts that sort of went viral on Reddit, but I'll skip that for now. I'll leave that later. What have you guys seen that's been going down this week?
The Isle of Man TT.
Oh yes, the Isle of Man TT. Do you guys know what that is? Watching live, can I? Let's find.
You have to go there to live it, to see.
It's like 1982 was the only year that nobody was killed at this race.
Have you seen it live?
I haven't seen it live, but I mean, there's an Irish guy, Mickey Dunlop, at the moment. He's on course to equal Joey Dunlop's record. Joey Dunlop is his uncle. Okay, his dad
I
also
remember the Dunlop name. Yeah.
Yes. Oh no.
They
You know
all-
why you know the Dunlop name? Every single one of his relatives was killed motorcycle racing. His dad was killed, his brother was killed, and his uncle was killed. And this guy's
Yeah.
still doing 203 miles an hour through a tiny little village on that island.
Yeah,
It's
these things
just-
rip so fast the helicopters can't even keep up with them when they're hitting top speed. Yeah, like I can't emphasize, like, the older that I get, guys, the stronger emphasis that I put on owning a motorcycle as a young man at some point. I thought about this the other day. Have I ever met a guy that got off a sport bike anywhere, coffee shop, gas station, late night, drag racing, stuff like that was soy? And I thought about this long and hard, and it's never happened. I think it's a strong rite of passage. It's a strong signal of masculinity and strength. Dragos, I know that you rode bikes too a lot, right?
Yeah, I used to race bikes as well.
You used to race them.
Yeah,
Flames.
I got into a few amateur races, endurance races as well.
Yeah.
I had a 750, and
Yeah.
they didn't have a class for 750. They had 600 and 1,000, and I used to get bunched up with the guys in the 1,000, like the leader bikes.
Yeah.
And they would kick my ass on the straight, and I would catch up on the curves. The
Yeah,
turns.
they've made. Just listen to this. Like, for you to be able to do that with brick walls on either side of you, in some cases barely inches away from where they're cornering, you've got to have balls of steel, especially at the speeds that they're pulling. Like, that is something to behold.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of young men doing. It's obviously it's a very risk-taking behavior, and I think it's an outlet for young men's testosterone. It is just an outlet for them to be able to take a risk. Granted, it's a very dangerous risk, but still, only young men would be like, no guy with a wife and 3 kids is going to be doing the Isle of Man race at all.
You'd be surprised. I think there's some family guys that race it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're definitely not your average family guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you have to have some degree of, I don't know, unusualness, to not use a worse word, to want to race on a narrow 2-lane road doing upwards of 150 miles an hour. It's like, that's not normal.
Yeah. Another absolute weapons.
Maybe deaf guys who can't hear their wife nag at them all year from doing that one race. Okay, maybe those guys would be able to do this. Other than that,
there's a picture of there's a picture of Peter Hickman, a famous one from the other day, of him going, into a corner on a windy back road, and he's literally sliding the bike at 150. He's throwing out the back tire to get himself a better drop exiting a corner. I'm like,
check out this. So the road surface is wet. There's mist coming off the road. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Watch this. All of those bikes are airborne going over that lip. Balls.
I used to do street racing back in the day. It's over, the statute of limitations is ended now, so I can talk about it. And I have this RS4, and it had a V8 with a manual transmission, 4x4, and it looked like a kind of average sedan. And I had a hidden nitrous kit, and it was in 2007, 2009.
So it was a
when
4.2
the Porsche
V8.
Yeah, when the Porsche Turbo just came out, the 997.
Yeah.
And I had more power than them, but they didn't know it because I had nitrous and it was hidden. So I used to race these guys that just got their car, and I used to pick on them for 500 euro, 1,000 euro each.
Nice.
Is there any? Do you know any alternatives? Because when I read your book originally, because my dad used to do races like this, and he used to be even now he's 67 and he looks at a bike and wants to kiss it. So it's like he's full on in it. But when he was exactly my age, one car like got through a red light and hit him in the leg, and he was in a hospital for like a year, and then they cut off his leg. So now he has a prosthetic leg, and he always told me like he would kill me if I ever rode a bike in my life. So I've never actually ridden a motorbike. Is there any alternative to it to get that? No.
To get
there
that
really
high?
isn't. No, there really
Yeah.
isn't. I mean, that's
Well,
Right,
that's
Can-Am.
around 23, 24, I think there. That was a Gixxer 750. But I don't think
Let me see
there's
if I
an
can find it
alternative
quick.
that's going to give you the rawness, the feel to riding a motorcycle. They are dangerous, but they're more dangerous in the regard where like you have to watch out for other people because they don't expect you on something like a quarter the size of a car doing 2 or 3 times the speed you're doing generally in traffic. People just sort of fart along in traffic and they don't look over their shoulder and do a shoulder check when they change lanes. They're just lazy. So you have to be a really good rider and you have to treat everything on the road like it can kill you. And if you approach it from that perspective, then it's reasonably safe. Like I rode for 12 years. I didn't have any issues, but I knew people that had issues. So people do get hurt, but if you wear leathers today and the right gear, they're relatively safe. They're reasonably safe. Yeah, you might go off the road or something like that, but if you have an impact where it crushes your leg or something like that, then that's where you lose it. But most guys that I know that have motorcycle accidents, it's like a low side. They're going around a corner, the bike skids out from underneath him and they slide with it. And if you're wearing leathers or Kevlar jeans or something like that, you're usually pretty good. Dragos, you mentioned Porsches earlier. So I don't know if I told you guys yet, but yeah, I did. I think I mentioned the Generals, but I just bought a Turbo S. They're shipping it across the country. Let me see if I can find a picture because I saved it on my desktop because I knew they were going to take the listing down. But that should be here at the end of next week. So 50, I might see you with that when I come and see you guys when you come up to Toronto. But
911 Turbo S.
Turbo S, yeah, there's going to be some work done to it. I've got a friend.
That's an evil car.
Well, I've got a friend that's got one that he runs it on rallies, and he's got a 765 LT, and he doesn't take his LT on rallies because, I mean, I've got a 720 right now. And
it's too harsh.
It's just not comfortable after 3 or 4 days. Like if you do 3 or 4 days in the car, it's pretty good. It's after about 4 days of driving hard in the car where you're like, this is starting to get uncomfortable. It's starting to hurt your back. I'm not a young, spring chicken anymore. And whenever I ask him, what's that?
You're also tall.
And I'm also quite tall too. Yeah. So, like a lot of the times, my buddy in his Turbo S, he's like, oh yeah, I'm totally comfortable. It's got air conditioned seats, 18-way power adjustments. It's just as fast as the McLaren in almost every circumstance. It's faster off the line because it's got all-wheel drive. More comfortable. It blends into on rallies, which is what you want. You don't want to be the car that sticks out. You want the guys with the bright orange Lambos and other, exotics getting picked off by the cops. So it's I think personally, for the purpose that I'm going to use it for, it's probably one of the best cars for rally driving. But we'll see what happens, man. I really like the McLaren. The McLaren's an awesome car. It handles incredibly. It's not the best for rallies, I don't think.
Me and my dad both had kind of nasty accidents on bikes. He got his spleen ruptured and almost died, and they had to cut it out. So he was maybe 30 minutes away from bleeding out too much. And I had a pretty nasty accident where I got my short-term memory reset. Basically, I had no short-term memory for about 2 weeks until, I don't know, it came together. But I was in a point where I couldn't remember the code to unlock my phone.
Oh, really?
Yep.
How did you fix that? How'd you get that back?
It just came by itself. I mean, I was lucky, I guess. I did cerebral lysine much later, like last year and this year. And that I felt repaired a bit of the damage that was made 10, 15 years ago. If you look on
that's the peptide, right?
Yeah, that's the pig brain. If you look on the private chat, you've got some pics of the bike and the car with the nitrous.
Nitrous. Yeah, bikes with nitrous. Did you put nitrous on the bike, you said?
No, on the car. I did put on another bike, a 125. I was 16, and I wanted to be faster. So I put a nitrous on a 125cc bike.
Yeah, so that's the car there that I got coming across country. Should be pretty fun.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that is the one that I was in before, that one of our members had, and that scared the absolute shit out of me. That car did.
you were in the slower 150. You were in the 991. This is the newest version of it. It's got a tune on it.
Turbo S, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, this
I know the car you're talking about
because
it's a slightly older gen. It's a slightly older gen. This is the newest gen, and it's got a tune on it. So this will be like 720 fast.
You're gonna hate the center lock wheels.
I hopefully don't ever have to deal with them. The dealership should just deal with them.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So listen, I heard about a research paper out of Albany by Gallup and Birch, I think were the authors, in 2002. You might want to look that up, Rich. It has some very interesting findings in it.
What's it called?
It was by Gallup and Birch are the two authors, 2002, I think, University of Albany.
Birch.
It's just a kind of rabbit hole I went down about the, a lot of people, a lot of ladies want healthy diets, vitamins and everything.
What's the title of the study?
I'm not sure. I'll have to send it to you, but I'll have to, how would I say, self-edit what it's about. It's about male emission content.
Male emission content. Are you talking about semen eases depression?
That's exactly the thing. Depression, mood, everything. I nearly fell off my chair.
Okay, yeah. So, that study actually exists. University of Albany study, semen eases depression in women. Well, there you go, ladies.
No, skin health, everything. It was literally like everything that Oprah's magazine is selling women can be like attained in 2 minutes.
Well, maybe that's why my girlfriend's so happy.
Or 30 seconds if you drag us.
Number of days encounter. That's interesting. That probably explains why some of these women are completely miserable and angry at men, probably because they're not getting any.
That's a joke in this part of the world. And people say it to your face. Like if, for example, in reception at the hotel, if one girl just is pissed off, like people will say, "Oh, she hasn't gotten laid in like 3 months," and they'll say it loud so she hears it. It's a running joke. I've heard it like more than 5 times. It's pretty awesome when people say it. Everybody starts laughing.
It's been well known for a long time, though. I mean, there was even like a medical diagnosis, obviously, with female hysteria.
There's a
but now you can't say
in
that
Romanian.
in the West. Yeah, you can't say it in the West. Like you say that, and it's like, oh my god.
In Romania, we have a word for that. Like there's a word for it.
So I'm constantly changing the title of these generals meetings now as we're live. So I've got generals meeting - Pride Month - easing depression in women. So you guys can.
Let's see after which change you get more engagement.
Yeah, we'll see. Pride Month or easing depression in women.
Going back to Raphael's question about the bikes and stuff, there's actually 3 members of the group are riding the tail of the dragon today.
Yeah.
One's Ducati Multistrada, one's got the BMW, I think. And I'm not sure what Vic is on.
I think he's on a Ducati Scrambler.
Yeah.
Europe is absolutely fantastic for that as well. Like going from Hungary towards the west, it's really nice. You get sea, you get the mountains. You can go up to Switzerland. It's absolutely fantastic. Did a trip back in 2018. Did Sardinia, did Corsica, did the islands as well on a bike.
You drove it or on a motorcycle?
I drove a motorcycle.
What kind of bike did you use for that?
990 KTM. It's like an adventure bike.
Oh, okay, so it's more upright, a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I have to get to Europe to do a rally on the European roads. The roads there are just so much better. The weather's nice. The scenery is phenomenal.
The food is good.
Food's good. Yeah.
Where did you hear this? The roads are much better in Europe thing from?
Well,
I'd like to raise that as a point.
Well, I mean, I've driven on most of the nice roads in Europe, so I haven't seen any shit roads over there, to be honest with you. Like if you compare some of the roads in New York State, for example, there's some shit roads in New York State, like worse than they are in Toronto. I know they're not completely perfect, and I see people complain about the UK roads a lot, but UK roads are way better than they are here.
Yeah, just the extreme temperatures in Canada will kill the roads. It just destroys them.
Yeah, like it ruins the surface with freezing and thawing. You get
freeze
potholes
thaw.
everywhere.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But yeah, the roads in Britain. Well, you know when you get on with your Easy Pass or whatever the Canadian equivalent of Easy Pass is, what is it, Ice Pass?
407 highway is what we have. It's a toll highway.
Yeah. So, well, what they do in Britain, so be aware, is when you get on the highway, and then when you get off the highway, they analyze your time, and you'll get a speeding ticket if they determine that you got from point A to point B. So,
really,
they have that. They have that in Italy. And
are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Speeding ticket if you entered and exited too quickly.
Yeah.
Yes. So you might as well hit $1.50 and then pull over and sit for 30 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. The segmented road is time.
That's interesting. So here's what the plan is. I was talking to a couple of my friends about this because I learned that you can buy a manual transmission car in Europe for less than what they cost in North America, and they're desirable in North America, so you can sell them here for profit. So what some guys do is they'll go over to Europe, they'll just buy a car at a dealership, like an exotic, they'll drive it, and then they'll ship it back and get it plated, licensed, and they sell it for a profit here. Or you can keep it if you want. But we're actually thinking about getting a small group of guys together, finding cars that we like, buying them, driving them for maybe 3 or 4 weeks around Europe, and then shipping them back and then selling them. Probably film the whole thing, do like a grand tour sort of like version of our own shit.
Yeah. I have
That's profitable, man.
A tip, like what they did with the guys from Romania going on rallies, is that in Romania you can tell the police that you lost the license plate, and they'll print out a new license plate, right? The metal plates. Because when you go in Europe and you're speeding, because of the way the laws work, they cannot prosecute you from like Switzerland into Romania, but they'll take the license plates, and you just pop out a new one and put it in a drive.
That's interesting. I don't think any driving infractions in Europe would translate over to Canada. I know that Michigan and New York State have a deal with Ontario. So if you have an infraction, then it affects your insurance. But states south of that, they don't. So that's one of the reasons why we go to the Appalachians and, you know, the Appalachian sort of trails in the northeastern part of the states, because you get out of that area.
I got 3 or 4 speeding tickets. I got a speeding ticket and 3 or 4 warnings and following up letters from the Queensland government in Australia to my house here in the US a few years ago. They're like, they kept mailing me. I was like, what the fuck are you gonna do? You know?
Right.
I got the same from Germany. I rented an M5 and I was speeding down, but I thought it was the Autobahn, but it was just a random highway. And I was going like at 200 kilometers per hour, and they sent me it was like 500 euro because I passed the speed by 4 times or something. And they still send me emails like, hey, we're going to send this to collections if you don't pay it.
Ooh,
yeah. So it's, I'm not even going to Germany anytime soon. So
yeah. 50, you saw the new GX. We talked about this, right?
I did. I saw the new GX. What I see so far is, you know, my only fault with it is the engine. I like the look. It looks a lot like a Land Rover. Or I think it's a dig at Land Rover, or not a dig, but it's pushing it into the same looks category as the Land Rover, except
I think it's taking a jab at the I'll put up on the screen. I think it's taking a jab at the G-Wagon too.
Have you seen the Ineos?
Because I mean, the name of it is a GX 550, which is basically a G-Wagon branded name, which is G550, right?
Have you seen the Ineos Grenadier?
Grenadier? No, who makes that?
It's a brand new brand of car. They're a petrol producer, and the guy that owns the company just said that he wants an off-road car. So he got the drivetrain from BMW, spruced it up, and made a new car. I'll just put it in here in the chat. It's called Ineos Grenadier.
Is this?
And it's actually pretty nice.
I've seen this. Yeah, this is this is like a custom build. This is like a, what would they call it? A coach builder, essentially.
Yeah. Well,
No, they don't
Rich,
need that many cars.
as you know, as you age and you switch from demographics to another, and you and me seem to be looking at a lot more luxury, comfort, and power rather than cars that are the equivalent of super bikes. 20 years ago, what's your 0 to 60? What's your top end speed? Now, I don't want to hear the road. I don't want to hear the engine, and I just want to glide down the highway like I'm on silk.
You know what? I've driven a couple of not GS, LS Lexus cars now, and I thought they would have been a lot more quieter. Okay, this is the interior. Hang on, let me put this back up on the screen. But they're no different than my Audi, right? Like German cars have gotten that good now.
I've been in a few of them, like even the Porsche, the Panamera, and I think the best in class for noise.
Like that looks like a
cancellation.
freaking aircraft cockpit with the thing up the center
Isn't
console.
it cool though?
Two skylights. What does this thing cost?
It's about 70K.
That's it?
You think so?
That's cheap, man. I mean, a GX is going to cost you 81,000 Canadian. That's 70K euro, though, right?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know if it comes in the US.
And that's a
But I
BMW
know.
shifter right there for sure. So that's a BMW drivetrain in it.
Yeah.
Huh.
The transmission and the engine is from BMW, but the axles are more sturdy, right? They're not normal car axles. They're actually made for off-roading.
You know what? These here it's not scrolling down, but these like switch gears, I'm going to show you in a second here. I'm getting real geeky in the car stuff right now. But you guys,
Yeah, wanted to say about the noise cancellation that I think the best in class is BMW and Mercedes.
why isn't it showing? Hang on, remove, stop screen. You guys got to see the switch gear here. Check this out. Like this is high quality shit right here. It's not scrolling
It's
down.
made to last. Like this car will last you 10 years.
Well, I think you'll get that out of a Lexus GX too. So I'm seriously contemplating that as my next daily driver is a GX.
So, what do you guys think about the transition to electric vehicles? Because all this stuff that you guys are talking about seems like it's not even going to be present in electric vehicles at all.
From my cold dead hands.
Yeah, it's not sure.
Yeah, I've had a few hybrids as well as a full electric i3, BMW i3. Drove it for about 2 years and then it got a V8 twin turbo.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the type of car that you want for your pleasure. And if you're in a city or somewhere where you drive for short distances, then I don't think, I mean, for the price and like price to quality to comfort ratio, I think that this looks pretty good.
Yeah, I was talking more along the lines of that. I think that like a lot of places are trying to mandate that by 2035, you won't even be able to buy an ICE vehicle. They're all going to be
Well, that's what the
ICE
law
vehicle.
is. Like they've already passed the laws to say that they won't be able to sell internal combustion engines after 2035 in Canada and California, and you'll probably see the rest of the states toe the line. There's a real push. Yeah, there's a real push for government offices to have people in electric cars. But to be honest with you, the infrastructure doesn't exist. I know that Tesla has just struck a deal with Ford, and I believe just is in talks with wrapping up with GM as well, which will get their charging network out to a lot more electric vehicles. But every guy I know that owns an electric vehicle, they're like, yeah, they're great if you drive locally. But if you have any road trips to take, and Canada's a big country, like the distances between cities are immense. They're not that practical, you know, especially if you're driving, let's say from Toronto to Montreal, which is a 5-hour drive. And then you have to go to a rest stop and you have to wait like, I don't know, an hour and 15 or an hour and 20 minutes to fully charge your battery up, providing that there's a charger that's available, providing that there's a charger that is working, providing that it delivers full charge as it's supposed to. You don't run into those problems with gas cars. You just go to the pump, you fill up the tank in 3 or 4 minutes, and then off you go, and you have the exact same range. The other disadvantage to an electric car, especially in a large country where there's vast distances, you know, between cities, is your distance diminishes over time. Like the battery capacity of a battery does not remain the same as it does on day one. Like 5 years down the road, you'll lose 15% of the battery capacity. that's like your gas tank on your gas car shrinking by 15%, which doesn't happen on gas cars, but it happens on electric cars. There's a lot of disadvantages. What they're trying to do, I think, is they're trying to push you into electric cars because they can control them, right? Because they're all connected to the web, they're connected to cell towers for downloads and software updates and all that sort of stuff. And one of the laws that the U.S. Has passed, which didn't get a lot of airtime, which I covered before, is I think by 2027, I can't remember which states it was, they have to have the ability to shut down your vehicle for safety reasons. So the argument that they use is, well, we don't want to deal with another O.J. Simpson scenario where we have, highway patrol cars and motorcycles chasing down a Bronco trying to get them to stop when all we have to do really is just push a button and that car will stop. So that's another argument that they're trying to pull. So I don't see it going away, and every new car is pushing more towards electrification, which is fine for a daily driver. But I'd strongly recommend that everybody keep something that's a little more old school. It's gas powered. Gas isn't going away. There's no way that gas is going away. It's not a freaking chance. Even Porsche's invested heavily in a company in South America that can manufacture synthetic gasoline. Right now, they're doing it at about $40 a gallon, which they'll bring the cost down, but they can make carbon neutral gasoline, which will drive gas powered cars well into the future.
But like you said, I don't think they actually care so much about the environment as they care about the control.
No,
it's just a way of them getting their foot in the door. And once their foot is in the door, then they'll do whatever they want.
If you listen to what the chairman of Toyota said in the last few months, he said that we're businessmen. He said we're here to make money. And he's looked at everything regarding electric vehicles. He said there's not the infrastructure, there's not the battery, the material supply. He said it's not a moneymaker for us. We're not interested in it. He said hybrids, fine. We can do that all day long. But he just said they don't have an interest in electric vehicles in the long term.
But I mean, they're forced to put out electric vehicles because Toyota just announced they've got an RX that's fully electric now, which I think is one of their first fully electric vehicles.
I have the perfect day-to-day example of this situation in application in real life right now. The car that I drive day-to-day right now has a smaller gas tank because it's a hybrid. It's a 2-liter hybrid with a 12 kilowatt battery.
So it's a plug-in hybrid?
Yeah. And
what is it?
It's a 7 Series 740E.
Okay.
And I drive it day to day, and I go to different cities, right? And it has a smaller gas tank. It only holds about 45 liters. You can fill up 40 because 5 is reserved. Mm-hmm. And I don't have an issue with a smaller range, right? It does about 10 liters to the 100 kilometers. I don't know what that transforms into miles per gallon because I know that you guys use different measurements. But what I can tell you is that the smaller range doesn't bother me because it takes me 5 minutes to fill up and pay. But
then you've got the battery only power usually for about 50 kilometers if it's about 11 kilowatts. Like usually 11 to 17 kilowatts gives you 35 to 50 kilometers, right?
It's one of the older generations. About 9 is usable. It's a big car. It has wide tires. You get about 25 kilometers, not more.
Yeah.
Maybe the battery is also degraded because it's from 2017.
You know what I drove the other day, which looked really interesting at the Lexus dealership, because I went in to ask about the GX, and they had an X plug-in hybrid there, and they have a rebate here in Canada for $5,000 if you buy one of these. So I was like, all right, let's check it out. It's pretty boring. I mean, it's efficient and it drives the way that it's supposed to, but it's like any other Econo box. It's like your soul dies when you drive this thing.
What I wanted to say Camry earlier is that for an electric car to give me the same type of utility, like for me to be able to use this car, an electric car, in the same way that I use my daily driver right now, it would need to have about 100 kilowatt, maybe 120 kilowatt battery.
Yeah, which is huge. They weigh like tons.
They weigh 2.5 tons, and it's by no means a cheap car or like easy to use, to move, to park, to everything. Yeah. So go ahead.
One of the guys that's driving the Dragon's tail of the Dragon today on the bikes posted on his personal Facebook page last week. He decided to go. He was on a business trip and he decided to rent an electric vehicle. So he rented the electric vehicle and he needed to get juice. By the time he waited online to get electricity and sat there to charge it, he was 2 hours late and he missed his business meeting. He said he's never, ever doing it again. Ever.
Yeah. I told you guys, I had an electric car, an i3, back in 2017 in Romania when there was almost no network for recharging the cars, like not a lot of fast charging stations. And the reason why I could use it is that it was actually hybrid and it had a range extender. It's basically a generator under the trunk that would start and recharge the battery as you're driving.
Mazda's doing that with the next rotary car that they're bringing out. They're actually using a rotary engine, which is from the RX-7, the RX-8.
It's perfect for that.
But it's not going to be a driven rotary engine. It's going to be used as a generator to recharge the battery because it's a very compact motor and it's super smooth when it's running.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting from that perspective. But I think the electrification of petrol-powered cars will be a far better compromise than fully electric, because full electric just sucks.
I found the European Parliament thing while you were talking. They have by 2035, companies can legally, so all the cars that are manufactured, they will be tested for CO2 emissions and they can legally not emit. It's punishable by law after 2035. Like, yeah, they're going full on electric.
Yeah, so it's got to be.
Yeah,
so it's going to either be hydrogen, which is carbon neutral. So hydrogen combustion engines are an alternative. Toyota's been talking about this. The problem with hydrogen combustion engines is they need more robust components to make the same power as a gas engine. And then you've got the storage issues with hydrogen because you basically have to compress it into a tank. And we all know what happened with the Hindenburg.
That's not even the biggest problem. You know what the round trip efficiency of hydrogen is?
It's not as good as gas. I know that.
Gas is way better, but even batteries are way better. Like for hydrogen, the amount of energy that you use to produce the hydrogen, take 70% out of that, and that's how much you can use in your car.
So here's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Like if this law in Europe that Raphael just pulled up for 2035 says that it can't emit emissions, I'm sure that if you drill down through the legislation, it's basically saying that it's got to be carbon neutral. And Porsche has this facility in South America where they're trying to refine carbon neutral gasoline. So you will be able to buy gas, I still believe, at 2035 in Europe. It's just, it probably won't be $40 a gallon, but it's probably also not going to be like $3 or $4 a gallon. It might be $5 to $10 a gallon, but it'll still be available and it'll be carbon neutral because they extract the carbon from the atmosphere. They mix it with a few other chemicals, and then whatever carbon comes out is basically neutralized because whatever you extracted from the atmosphere is burned and it comes back out. So it's a carbon neutral petroleum product. So there's still a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think that full electric is going to be a realistic path, especially in countries like Canada, Russia, even the United States, where there's massive distances, between cities. They just don't make a lot of sense.
Australia as well.
Australia too, yeah. Or unless they improve the efficiency of batteries, meaning they're cheaper to manufacture, they're not as fucking heavy, and they're faster to recharge, which are three main issues which they haven't been able to overcome yet.
All of that is going to get solved. The rate of improving energy density and charging times is like fantastic. Batteries now are 2 to 3 times more dense than 10 years ago when electric cars were just starting to be built and money was just starting to be poured into this industry basically. And by the time 2030, 2035 hits, you're going to have electric cars that are going to weigh less than gas cars with more range.
But the battery is still beautiful no matter how heavy it is, though, correct?
Well, it's still sexy for most of the population.
Still,
that's what they want to vote for, right? That's what they're voting for with their wallets. But they're not.
They them.
We're going to be like Cuba. There's going to be die-hard petrol heads, gear heads who are going to keep their cars, keep repairing them, and they can take my V8 from my cold dead hands. Put it that way.
Well, yeah, but at some point, I think if the battery technology improves enough, then that may not be a factor. Like for instance, there's a lot of people that still prefer a manual transmission. I prefer a manual transmission, but good luck trying to find one on a newer vehicle. And that's for a variety of reasons. It's not necessarily just because of the ease of use. There is I think I'd heard that a lot of the reason why why those vehicles aren't being sold is because of emission standards, right? Like the computer is a lot better at shifting for emission standards than necessarily a human being might be.
Yeah, it's only slight, and it's really only real car enthusiasts that want a manual transmission. The vast majority of people don't want a manual transmission. They just prefer the car to do it for them. But in Europe, I think manuals still outnumber automatics, probably, right?
Yeah,
Eastern Europe,
Yeah.
Demographics
Germany,
as well.
everybody wants a easy car to drive. That's what they say. So,
the people's car. It's funny. I was watching, because I bought this Porsche. I actually have another Porsche on order that's coming in March as well. It's a Spider RS, which is a build from the factory. But I swear to God, I think YouTube is like listening to everything we say, because I got served a video that was like the history of Porsche, or it was clickbaity, something along the lines of like the dirty or the German or the Nazi history of like Porsche, and it talks about Ferdinand Porsche and his alignment with the Third Reich and how he worked with Adolf, to develop the people's car, which was, turned out to be the Volkswagen Bug. But it's a pretty interesting story, behind the company. It's like, look, I've never owned a Porsche before, but I've seen them do quite well on rallies, and they're pretty boring looking, and they're comfortable, and they don't really have any issues, as far as reliability. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I've also, by the way, joined this club. It's called the Flat Six Club. My buddy Sergey put it together. It's in Concord. So if you follow me on Instagram, I posted the link to the grand opening event, which is 2 Saturdays from now. So if you guys want to come and see me in Toronto, or if you want to get your book signed or something like that, bring it. I'll be at that event. It's on my Instagram, so you can't miss it.
have you heard of I don't know if we can talk about it on YouTube, but the 15-minute cities that they're testing out in the UK and Canada?
Yeah, they're already starting to build them, where it's like they don't want you to move more than 15 minutes from your location, and you should be able to get there through either transit or walking, where they're going to have giant apartment buildings, and it's like residences will be at the top, offices kind of in the middle, and shopping will be at the bottom, along with all your amenities. So you got your grocery store, you got your drugstore, maybe a gym. It's got all that stuff in that area. And then they're technically saying that you should be able to walk to everything. So they want to keep you congested in a certain area, it seems, doesn't it?
Yeah, and also like you get a certain amount of times that you can pass the limit with your car. And if you have an electric car, you get more times, and you get more perks to leave and come back than you do with a combustion car. So if you go out, so let's say a combustion engine gets 150 times per year that you can go out, an electric car might get double. And
yeah, I mean, I can see the appeal to, to the notion of urban centers and keeping everybody centralized, but I still think that there's an underlying notion, behind the policy, and regulators are like engineering ways where if they want to lock you down for a climate issue, for a forest fire issue, for an air quality issue, for the next scamdemic issue, it's a lot easier because they've taken away your cars. Everything's in one building. You'll be in a zone. You won't be able to leave that zone. They tried the whole zone thing here, before, during the scamdemic. I remember there was a time where the Ontario government announced that you had to stay in your designated zone. You weren't allowed to leave a zone. And the premier at the time said, and if you do, the police will be able to pull you over, check your driver's license, and ticket you for leaving your zone. And then like immediately after that, the OPP, which is the provincial police, basically came out and they're like, yeah, we're not going to enforce that. It was like right around George Floyd's time. And they're like, yeah, we're not getting involved in stupid shit like that. And it's funny, because we're out for a drive one day and a buddy of mine goes, we should go get like a roast beef sandwich up in Midland, which was like in another zone. And fuck it, we did it, but I think this is stuff that's going to be more enforceable in the future. And it's part of the overall strategy to know where you're at, keep you centralized, keep you from moving around if they want to put barriers. Like it's easier to control you if you live in a 15-minute city versus out in, the urban area where you have a car or a truck or mobility, right?
True. Where did you see the whole thing about turning off your car with a button? I want to dive deep into that.
Let me Google it and see if I can find it. But I covered it in a video like 6 or 7 months ago on the Unplugged Alpha podcast.
I can't believe that. I mean, if that passes in the U.S., then that's it. Like, the U.S. has no way to go back. That's complete infringement of freedom.
Yeah, I think the thing about the U.S. as compared to a lot of other countries is that the U.S. has a very independent streak where if the government tries to cram down, especially if the federal government tries to cram down top-down control, then they'll get sued into oblivion, and then it's pretty much game over. They have a very strong constitution in the United States where a lot of other countries don't have those protections built in.
So again, they're using this as like a scare mechanism, like so we can shut down cars that are on the run, that are public menace or anything like that. But law will install kill switches in all new cars. It's not a law that's passed. They're just talking about it. And I think if you Google it, you'll probably see like fact checks saying that it's not real yet, or that it's just I don't know, like scaremongering or whatever. But they're testing the waters. It may not be a law just yet, but they're talking about it to get people ready for it. And they're using it under the guise of public safety. Like, oh, if somebody robs a bank, then we can push a button and shut down that car. Oh, if we have another O.J. Simpson thing, where we have to shut down highways, we can stop that and make it safer, sort of thing. That's why that's the story behind the story. But the real reason why they're doing it, I think, is for control.
Yeah, and have you seen that video? It's from a meme channel, but it's extremely on point. It's about this whole social score thing. There's this guy that comes up with an Audi, and he picks up a guy that was going to take the bus, and he has a 1,000 score. And then he says, turn off your phone, put everything on airplane mode. And then he tells him, did you know that the system is trash? I follow it, and I have 1,000 score, and I do everything the government says, but it's all fake, it's all BS. And then there was a little thing recording him. And then the system says, we've recorded you, and now your score is 499. Your car has been stopped. Please get out of the car. And the car just randomly stops, and the door opens, and he needs to get out. It's like the
it's like that.
For that.
Yeah, it's like an episode of Black Mirror. I don't know if you've seen Black Mirror on Netflix.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, it's like that. It's it's essentially like a dystopian, futuristic story about where we're heading, and it's it is what it is. And this is what happens, guys, when you give them an inch or give them 2 inches when it comes to freedom under the guise of public safety. It's usually not a public safety measure. There's usually something there.
It's funny how you mentioned turning off your iPhone. Now with new iPhones, even if you turn off your iPhone, it can still be tracked.
Yeah.
And you can't take the battery out of your iPhone. Before you could just take the battery out and nothing would happen. Now there's always it's always a little bit on. And Apple has this feature called Find My, where every iPhone in the world can track can track your earpods and your iPhone. So in case you ever lose it or your phone is stolen, you'll know exactly where it is if it comes within Bluetooth distance, which is I think 30 feet or 30 meters, so 100 feet of any other iPhone, and they can be tracked. So even if your phone is off, it can still be tracked.
Yeah. And the vast majority of people won't circumvent that because the convenience benefit outweighs the lack of privacy compromise. It's only when people see that the lack of privacy compromise starts to cost, or makes the convenience issue a non-issue. And I think that's when you might see, people switch back over to like those old school type cell tower phones that have no tracking on it. They're just basic phones. They still exist on the market. Like you can buy them now if you want.
Yeah, I mean, like I've read articles about how it's somewhat of a trend of younger people, like teens, early 20s, just buying those flip phones to use because they're tired of the whole social media. But I don't know if I believe it. I know that like teenagers are very much status oriented, very cliquey. I can't see a teenager deciding to use a flip phone when all of her friends are using iPhones.
Yeah, like one of the apps that they get kids on now, I think it's called Be Real or something like that. And once a day, you're supposed to take a picture of what you're doing that's like being real or whatever. And it's geolocation tagged. So like there's a creep issue, to that. Like if you've got a kid that thinks this is cool because all the other kids in the classroom have it, and they're taking pictures of themselves somewhere where they're located, then that leaves a pattern of their travel behavior, right? It's like, you know, this is a safety issue now. This is a parenting issue that parents don't really pay much attention to, because parents don't parent anymore. They just let their kids do whatever. They let, you know, screens raise their kids, right? And this is what happens when you hand over the keys to the, you know, the big, you know, big brother sort of thing, right? Crazy world we're heading into. Anyway, done an hour. I gotta wrap up. It's actually my nephew's birthday today, so I gotta get a few things ready and bounce and go see a little fam jam sort of thing. You guys can follow Raphael on his YouTube channel, Wealthy Expat. Find him on Instagram and all that good stuff. Dragos is around there. He's got his link too. And Big Black is a non, because he is a non dude. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch up with you next Saturday.